Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Sacred Medicine Podcast, weaving powerful, soulful practices into functional medicine. Step into this beautiful space of devotion and explore everything from nurturing foods, rituals, sexuality, and awakening your innate sensuality. It is time to own your radiance. This is the Sacred Medicine Podcast. Hello and welcome back to another week of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Margaret Romero, and this week I'm talking all about my journey. So I just wanted to do a little quick intro here about me, if this is the first time you're hearing about me personally. I'm a board-certified nurse practitioner, graduate of Columbia University School of Nursing, and about 11 years ago, I came down and was diagnosed with lupus nephritis. And after several hospital admissions, I was sent home, requiring 24-hour care after a botched up kidney biopsy. So I talk about this in detail in this episode, but I just wanted to give you a little background about me in case you didn't know who I was. I have a medical practice, a women's health, primarily women's health. We talk all about autoimmunity, hormones, adrenals, thyroid issues, weight loss, libido issues, at my practice called FemMed, and it is in Manhattan on the West Side. And I absolutely love also holistic medicine, and I also practice that as well. So I am currently not taking any immunosuppressants, FYI, in case you are on them currently to control your lupus. I weaned myself off those many, many years ago once I heard about all of the side effects. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. It is the first time that I am publicly speaking about it. I go into some detail here about what happened with me, and it's the first time it's being aired. So hope you enjoy. And if you are a current lupus sufferer, I will be inviting you to a 7-day free lupus challenge. So wait to the end to hear all the details on that. Much love, and talk to you soon. In honor of Lupus Month, I would love to share with you my lupus journey. And this is the first time that I've very publicly talk about what happened. And it's a story that's a little bit on the long side. I'll try to make it short and sweet. But a lot of the details are not things that I typically discuss or talk about. So here we go. So about 2006, I was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I started to experience some really weird joint pain that sort of came and it went. But when it came on, it was pretty strong and pretty painful. And I didn't really know what was going on. And at the time, I remember distinctly, I was hiking out in Havasupai Falls in the middle of the Grand Canyon with a bunch of friends. We were camping, and I started to feel this joint pain like in my wrists. And I thought, oh, maybe I just, we were doing a lot of climbing and a lot of up and down these rocks, and maybe I just strained something. And at the time I was eating, I think we had also brought a lot of like camp food that was like dehydrated. And as you know, it had a ton of gluten in it. But we're going to get back to that in a second. So I started to experience that sort of in the fall of 2006. 2007 rolls around, and the pain had progressed. And not only was it affecting one, joint, which was primarily the wrist at the time, it started to really affect more than that. And it was spreading to my knees and my ankles my feet were swelling, and I had gone in to get some blood work, discovered that I had all of these antibodies, and it pretty quickly, I'd say very quickly progressed, because by the time I had sort of found out like, oh my gosh, this is an autoimmune thing going on right now. It seemed as if, now it's a little foggy because I became really foggy brain, and, I was starting to get memory issues. So sort of out of nowhere. And I remember this one day I woke up, I was living with my boyfriend at the time, and I had a really bad period. And I recall like getting up from bed and going to the bathroom, and there was just like so much blood coming out of me. And it was something that I've never seen before. And then my urine was completely bloody as well. And so immediately he drove me to, I actually started to feel like some palpitations and some kind of like heart symptoms, and a little bit of like difficulty breathing in. So I decided to go to the heart hospital, which was located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And there I pretty much told the doctors like, okay, this is what's going on. These are the tests that I need. My blood pressure was through the roof. It was like about 180 over 110. And they had just drawn more bloods, and they were about to put me in the CAT scan to check my kidneys, and they were about to use contrast, and I immediately stopped them. And I said, no, I'm having an issue with my kidneys. We need to stop this test. So we never had the CAT scan done. But I was in total bad shape. Like I could barely move without every fiber of muscle in my body. My joints were swollen. My blood pressure was up. I had this red rash on my face. Things were like suddenly just falling apart very, very quickly. And my family was all on the East Coast. So I was there with my boyfriend. There were no beds, in this hospital, because they would not let me go home, obviously, because things were just going awry. And I was medi-flighted on a helicopter to Arizona Hospital, which I got more tests, and then my brother flew out, and then he flew me back to the East Coast, and where I was admitted to another hospital in Boston. Through that, though, going from Arizona to Boston, I could hardly walk. So I was in a wheelchair the whole time. From there, through the admission in Boston, there they did a kidney biopsy, which was probably the most excruciating pain I had felt in my entire life, because the nephrologist kind of botched up the biopsy and punctured my psoas muscle. And so not only was it a painful procedure, it also ended up, I also developed a huge hematoma, which is like it was bleeding. My kidney was bleeding from the biopsy, because I was also severely anemic, and they had to give me blood transfusions. So all this was going on, but then because she punctured my psoas muscle, I could barely get up to go to the bathroom. I could not make any like muscle. I couldn't go from a sitting to a standing. I couldn't, do anything, without total help. So I needed like 24-hour care after being discharged from the hospital there, because I couldn't get in and out of the toilet. And including the fact that my whole body from head to toe was aching. My hair was falling out. It was super, super thin. I had gained 30 pounds from the water weight, from the kidneys, from the prednisone that they were pumping me with. It was just a horror show. So here I am. I have suddenly now 2 specialists, nephrologists and rheumatologists. And I didn't get the best prognosis. And I ended up living in Boston for a while, everyone was like, well, you need to be close to your doctors and you need to be close to the hospital, which I was damned if I was going to live in a town where I didn't particularly like to be close to the doctors. I just said, oh, hell no. This is not going to be my life. I am not going to live somewhere I don't want to be because of the freaking hospital. I don't even like this hospital because they messed up my biopsy. I could hardly even walk. Forget the muscle and joint pain already. But now I got my psoas muscle punctured during my kidney biopsy, and I was internally bleeding from it. I mean, it was just a mess. It was a mess. I couldn't stand looking at myself in the mirror. I looked in the mirror. I'm like, I don't even know who that is. I don't know who this woman is, because I looked horrible. And I mean, okay, granted, I was pale because I was severely anemic because of what was happening with the kidneys and everything. And my hair was thinning. It was falling out. Every morning I'd wake up and there would be a ton of hair on my pillow. I mean, I would just weep all the time. And I couldn't do anything. I mean, I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I just laid around and I just sat around. And then I was on a ton of prednisone. So I was up all night, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. And I didn't feel any empathy from my specialist. I didn't. I really didn't. I didn't feel supported. Nothing. It was like I was just a person that had lupus and that's it. And these are the meds you're going to go on. 20 pills a day I had to take to control everything. So I started to notice that every time I ate, my joints would swell. My cheeks would get super red. You can literally see my knees getting red and swollen and hot to touch after I ate. So I said, oh my God, maybe I have celiac disease. Maybe I have some kind of issue and I need to figure this out. So I went to my rheumatologist because I was having weekly follow-ups at the time, going in every week. So they would check in, more blood. And it was really my arms were being stuck all the time. And I would cry every single time because the whole thing was just a horrible situation for me. I had never endured such pain and agony in my entire life. So, I said, I spoke to my rheumatologist. I said, listen, I don't know, but every time I eat, I get swollen, everything worsens. I don't know what's going on. Can we check for celiac? Can we do a DNA test? I mean, I think this is really important. She immediately was like, no, don't even waste your money on doing any of those things. We're just going to keep you on the medication and that's it. And don't worry. I was like, well, what about fish oils for inflammation? What about, asking all these questions to a totally conventional doc. Okay. And at the time, this was right when I was beginning sort of functional medicine, but not really. I mean, I was doing more holistic than I was functional. And I certainly was not up to speed on every single thing that I know now, that I know today, as I did then. So, she poo-pooed the idea. And so what I did is that I, bought my own test online and I did my own DNA test and it came back positive. And I have 2 non-celiac gluten sensitive genes. And the day that I found out, I completely eliminated gluten from my diet. All of my pain in my joints and in my muscles started to subside. I knew immediately, the things that were triggering it, all the foods that I was eating that had all this gluten in it. And I said, no, oh my God, I have got to stop this gluten. I knew it was food related. So it was literally the thing that like saved my life. Within, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, I was able to like, probably even less than that. But I remember it was like 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh my God, I can walk. Like all of the muscles in my body from head to toe had atrophied. I was in really good, like I have a pretty athletic build. So I develop muscle pretty easily. And you could see definition in my legs and my arms. Well, after being this ill, I had zero, like nothing there. I had zero muscle, anything in my body. Everything had atrophied. Everything. So it did take me a while to get back into shape. But the first things first, I got off gluten. And my life friggin' changed. Hands down, it was a thing that saved my life. Now, that was only the beginning. It was not the only thing, but it made me realize that it's not that my body was in need of Cellcept, which is an immunosuppressant, very strong drug that has side effects like bladder cancer. And I was on that for, I'm going to say a year. They wanted me to be on it sort of somewhat definitively. They said maybe several years, you just need to be on it, blah, blah, blah. Well, I started to feel so much better being off gluten that eventually I did fire my doctors. I don't see them anymore. They're in Boston anyway, and I'm not up there, but when my book comes out, I will mail them each a copy because I think that they sort of need to open their eyes a little bit more as to what, aside from conventional medicine, there are other things that can help. And aside from tons of prednisone, which isn't good for your adrenals, isn't good for your bones, and so many things, hormones, these, which is the Cellcept, the immunosuppressants that they so quickly put people on. Now, I will say, yes, I was in crisis and I needed those things. Without a doubt, I needed those things so the inflammation would stop, because it took me a little while to figure out about the whole gluten thing. But when I did, I started to improve. It was amazing. By this time, I had cut my hair very short. It was like a pixie cut because of how much hair was just falling out. It looked ridiculous that I had like some long strands, and then a lot of it was like kind of very thin in other spots of my head. So I ended up getting a pixie. Very emotional day for me. I also ended up getting a wig because I did not identify myself with short hair. The long hair was like something I was used to. It was like my beauty. And I didn't have, I still looked in the mirror like, oh my God, who am I? And now I had the short hair on top of it. So I decided to buy a wig, and I wore that for a little while. Hair started growing back. It took me forever. It was very, very depressing for me. And among everything else, everything I just went through, but now it's like, oh my God, you took away my hair too. So I ended up getting, hair extensions, and then I finally felt normal. By the time that all happened, all the swelling had gone down. I did lose some weight. Things are back on track. I ended up getting full vitamin panels, hormone panels, that I was the one that ordered them from me. And I started myself on supplements. I started myself on healing my gut because I had some GI issues prior to all of this happening. They were somewhat chronic, and I sort of just accepted it as like a thing. And unknowingly, that was like the precipice to everything. So I have now learned how to like heal the gut and all of this. So I was on supplements. I weaned myself off these meds that were, potentially cancer causing. And I, was on this really clean diet. I have not looked back. I have been gluten-free since then. So it's been about 11 years of gluten-free. But back then, if I even took a little tiny bite of gluten, my joints would completely flare. Completely. Today, not so much. I will take, occasionally, not even that occasionally. I'm not even going to say it's that occasionally. Once in a rare moment, I will try a little bite of something. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it's been 11 years. My gut's pretty, healed up by now. I also stopped dairy. Those dairy and gluten they're highly inflammatory. And once you get gluten out of your diet, it's really important to get dairy as well. So I was really strict. I was like a Nazi. And I was a little cray-cray over the whole thing because I'm like, I am not going to go back to that hospital. I do not want to see those doctors again. Oh, hell's to the no with that. And I'm going to do this on my own. Now, I did have a nephrologist after that, yes, when I moved back to New York and all of that. He suggested another kidney biopsy, which I adamantly said no to. There's not much, there's nothing a nephrologist can do for me that I can't do for myself at this point, to be honest with you. I will not endure another kidney biopsy. There's nothing to know further. I already know to what stage we're at. So I don't need a nephrologist to monitor my blood pressure because I do that. Monitor my lab work because I do all of that on my own. I have become so skilled at knowing exactly what is going on in my body that it has just been a complete miracle where I am today compared to where I was. And so every time I read your posts, women or men who are suffering from lupus, when I read it on Facebook, when I read it on Instagram, when I see the puffy faces, the rashes on the face, when I see the thinning hair, I know because I have been there and I know exactly what it feels like. And it was, wow. Like I've never felt so much pain in my entire life. I have never been so down and out. I have never had to take time off from work for months to recover for something I was so very, very, very ill. And to see where I am today is nothing short of a miracle. And let me tell you, I have spent money not only on, changing my whole life to gluten-free and obviously, and I cook. So I cook gluten-free, but more so than that, I try to be really kind of like a paleo-ish diet. Though if there's something that I really, really want, every once in a while, like French fries or something, it's okay. Like I do it. I have to live your life and don't be all like I'm not that big of a Nazi to myself anymore. So but I will say it took discipline to be gluten-free. Yeah. It's not easy. It's easy for me now. It's like a no-brainer. But then I was like, I took cooking classes. I bought cookbooks. I mean, I was all in. I'm like, oh, hell no, I can't live my life with this type of pain. And so I got to the point where I was feeling so much better. My hair started growing back. I was on supplements. I was weaning off meds. Everything was going great. So when I read your posts, I just want to say, hang in there. Don't give up. And if you can get off gluten and dairy, I think that could really change a lot of things. But I'll be honest with you. One, it's not easy, okay? Especially if you're used to having that. But now, in this day and age, you can find gluten-free everything. And if it's not in your local supermarket, you can just go online on like Thrive Market and find everything gluten-free. Pasta, bread. You can start making your own stuff. I mean, it's really, there's Rudy's, there's Udi's, frozen gluten-free bread. I mean, they're in my freezer now, and I'll eat it occasionally. It's not that it's my staple, but I like having, if I feel like making a sandwich, it's there. And so I always have a stock of it in my freezer. But it is not, nutrition it is the most important thing, but it's not the only thing. I had to balance my hormones. Do you know that my adrenals were completely somewhat non-functional with all the prednisone that I had to. It's like I had to be on it. So coming back from that, dealing with the adrenals. And I think that's something that a lot of people who suffer from lupus don't deal with. Like, you're on the prednisone. Yes, you're on that, fine, for right now. That doesn't mean that you're eventually not going to wean yourself off that, or, have your doctor help you wean yourself off it. But you also have to remember that the adrenals were sort of dependent on that prednisone. And so when it saw it there, every time you took it, it decided that it didn't need to work or start pumping its own hormone, because there was prednisone every single day. So you have to sort of retrain your body. And so I had to balance my hormones big time. And not only that, I also had a ton of vitamin deficiencies. I mean, a person that is going through a chronic illness, there are deficiencies. Absolutely. So I corrected them. I put myself on supplements. I'd rather take supplements than to take 20 pills that cost, and one of them was like $1,000 a month. It was insane. No way in hell. I decided I'm going to invest in my body and myself, and I am going to heal my gut, and I'm also going to take these supplements. It's going to give me more energy. It's been a journey, and I wanted to share this with you. Well, not only because Lupus Month, but I decided to create a 7-day Lupus Challenge, which is coming up this week. Later on this week, early May, and I want to share what I learned from my journey. Now, also being a functional medicine nurse practitioner, board certified, and I also experienced the journey that you have as well, and I've come out the other side feeling really good. I have zero pain today. I don't feel tired. I have energy all day long. I do not need coffee in the morning to get me going. I don't. I work out at the gym. I lift weights. Almost like in better shape than I was back then. But I will say that in the beginning, no. I couldn't go back to the gym. No way. I mean, I was very intimidated, because any little strenuous, anything that I did early on, my body would ache. I would be so freaking tired. And so I had to get all my hormones and all my nutritional deficiencies up to speed before I was going to go back to the gym. That was very intimidating for me. And I started out, to be honest with you, doing like gentle yoga, restorative yoga, things that I knew were going to be really gentle for me, gentle for my body, and very restorative and meditative. that's also when I started back up with meditating and really having some good downtime and quiet time, because it was just super essential to also be in the mindset of that, because high stress is also not good for chronic illnesses. So today, I am on top of my blood pressure, my lab work. I get it done every couple of months, check on the kidneys, see what's going on there. What else do I do? Well, obviously I still take supplements like crazy. I get vitamin IV infusions. There's just a long list of things that I do to just keep me going, keep me well, keep my stress levels down. And I do a ton of self-care. It's just really important. I think even for even for any woman that's out there, you're just working a regular job. Maybe you don't have any chronic illnesses and you're just fine. I think it's really important for women to dive into self-care, make that part of your routine. It's anti-aging. There's just so many good things about self-care that's so good for your body. So I want to invite you into the 7-day Lupus Challenge. It's 7 days of kind of diving into my world to see what it is that I do on a daily basis, what has helped me. Now, there are so many things that I have done, but I have come in the past several years to kind of narrow things down. Okay, these are the things that are super, super, super important. And these things will help people who have lupus. And I wanted to share this story with you because I wanted to just give you some positive, just kind of me just giving you the positive side to a chronic illness. You would never look at me or read my posts on Instagram and think that I am suffering in any way. I never post anything negative or that I'm not feeling good, because guess what? Because I don't not feel good. I mean, I always feel good. And so it's not that I'm hiding anything or that some days that I may be achy or joints hurt, I'm not posting. No, I don't have any joint pain anymore at all, ever. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. I'm not tired at 4:00 in the afternoon. I sleep like a rock. I don't even feel like I have lupus. I just don't even think about that anymore. I keep on top of everything. Certainly health and wellness is by far my first priority. So I make sure that I have and include in my life at all times good food, good supplements, good friends, down times, stress-free times, self-care, trips to see friends, trips away, trips to warm weather, which, by the way, I go to the beach and I lay out. And I know that you're not supposed to, but it doesn't affect me anymore. Yes, I used to be very sensitive to the sun. I used to get rash anytime I was exposed to the sun. Even if I was wearing clothes and sun hit my clothes, like my legs, I would get a rash underneath the clothes. I mean, I was the epitome of your very typical, full of symptoms lupus sufferer. I was. Today, no, not at all. I just came back from Turks and Caicos, 6 days. And if you saw my Insta stories, which I have a thing on there that you can saved on my Instagram, saved stories. I wear a bikini out in the beach. I use SPF, of course, like I would tell any patient with or without a chronic illness or lupus to use anyway. But there were, maybe a couple of times that I didn't. I was out in the morning, wanted to do like an hour walk by myself before starting the day. I didn't wear SPF. It was fine. It was in the morning. Nothing happened to my skin. Nothing. No flares, nothing. So listen, it's possible. And I want you to hear this story firsthand. This is the first time that I've publicly discussed in detail my lupus journey, because I want you to know what I went through. Because if you are also suffering, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Take the 7-day lupus challenge. Let's see how you feel. And if you want further help with that, I am now also open. There's a couple of different ways if you're interested in working with me. One is that I have a 4-week foundational course for individuals with lupus. And you can also work with me one-on-one. And that is quite a transformational thing. To work with me one-on-one, let me look at your labs. Let me just everything. You would have to be and come to see me in New York City. But this is going to be one of the most life-changing things you'll ever do. You do not have to live with lupus and feel like shit every day. Your rheumatologist may tell you that, and your nephrologist may tell you that. That's sorry, this is just how it is. You're always going to feel pain, but here's some Percocet. Or, you're tired. What do you want like an upper, like a medication, or try to get more sleep? Like it's insane. It is not how it's supposed to be. You can feel good. Trust me on this one, because I've been through hell and back, and I fired those specialists. I couldn't, I don't know, like they were not supportive at all. They did not know anything about integrative medicine, which is fine because I needed them to get me out of crisis. They did. And then I took over from there. So if you are ready for a change, I invite you to the 7-day Lupus Challenge. So to learn more about that and to sign up for free, head on over to margaretromero.com/challenge. Well, I really hope that this story inspired you, that feeling completely normal without fatigue or pain on a daily basis if you have lupus is completely possible. It is so possible. So if anyone has told you otherwise, do not listen to them. Do not let your cells hear that information, because it really isn't true. I was at my worst and I came back from it after doing some changes, some lifestyle changes, some diet changes, adding in and throwing in some supplements. I invite you to join me for the 7-day Lupus Challenge. To find out more about that, head on over to margaretromero.com/episode 77. And if you'd like to sign up for the free challenge, head on over to margaretromero.com/challenge. I am so looking forward to hearing from you, working with you, and having you making some simple changes in your life, and to really see some big, big changes in your health. Much love and many blessings. Bye for now.